And we're back with the second episode of the Hypercast. I'm joined today by Natie and Kyler. I'm John.
What's up?
Hello.
And we are going to talk about American Psycho, which we just watched. Very fresh. Watched it last night. It's the next day. Yeah.
Yep. What do we got to discuss first?
What'd you just say?
I said, what do we got to discuss first?
Oh.
Well, all right. First, American Psycho, a little background. Released in 2000. Directed by Mary Herron, who also wrote the screenplay. Co-wrote it with, that's not a word, is it? Co-writ?
Co-wrote.
Co-wrote.
Co-written.
Co-written by her. And, who's the other person? Yeah, Guinevere Turner, who's in the movie, as Elizabeth. And obviously based on the book by Bret Easton Ellis. So directed by a female. I don't know if you guys knew that when we were watching it.
Didn't.
Mm-mm.
Okay, well.
Doesn't really matter.
I don't know, I think it's interesting.
I mean, it's interesting. Doesn't.
I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter. I guess it doesn't really matter your direction.
It's either a good movie or it's not. What? How do you look at like that?
Very blanket.
Also, there are spoilers ahead.
Oh, yeah.
Just in case. There.
Oh, I guess we'll do a quick little non-spoiler segment. Just a quick, 1 minute review from each of us on our opinions.
There we go.
Without spoilers.
Okay, sounds like a plan.
Okay.
Go, John.
All right, my rating. I'll start with the rating. I would say I would recommend this movie. I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. I think it's a phenomenal, critique, satire of, it's got a lot of social commentary in there, and I really like that. Shallowness, obsession with materialism, the insecurity of men.
You're into shallowness and
it's all
materialism.
Yeah, great movie concepts. Are you kidding me?
No.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant. A lot of nuance with this movie.
I gave it, I think, a 6.5 out of 10. I don't know, I liked, not to sound like a psychopath, but I liked...
You're a psychopath.
But I liked the other part, the interesting, I think what brought the rating down for me is because I spent most of the time psychoanalyzing and trying to figure out, a diagnosis and stuff like that, so that's where my brain was going the entire time, which I don't think that's where it should have been. But, I don't know, I thought it was a pretty good movie. It was an interesting storyline, but there was a lot of parts that, I was left questioning about. A lot of his relationships that he had, I was just left wondering what happened with them and what the purpose of them in the storyline was. And so, but overall, I liked, there's a few good liners in there, but it was just, there were some parts that were interesting to watch.
I gave it a 6 out of 10 because it's just kind of not my type of movie. A lot of gore, a lot of blood, which isn't necessarily my thing, but I'm okay with it. I did think it was interesting, and it was an interesting concept to watch play out, but just not my type of movie.
Okay. Spoilers ahead. That was your one. This is your last warning. Warning. So, we're going to get into spoilers now.
There we go.
And I guess we'll start with the beginning. The opening scene. First, we start at a restaurant. And it's very, it's very posh. It's very rich.
Is that Dozio's?
No, it's not Dorcia's.
It's not
Not Dorcia's?
No.
We never see Dorcia? Huh.
You never see
Interesting.
Dorcia.
That's true.
Yeah.
Didn't notice that.
Mm-hmm. We don't start at Dorcia's because, and we know this because before Bateman lies to them all, none of them have been to Dorcia, so it can't be Dorcia's.
Mm.
And it's it's already mocking the rich in the first scene. The sort of Wall Street yuppies of the 80s. They say something like $5.70, not bad, which for a dinner for 4 men, $5.70 or whatever it was, is obviously very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
That's atrocious.
Right.
Yeah.
And you see them all put down their 4 cards, and they're the exact same silver cards from the company they work at, Pierce and Pierce.
Right.
Yeah, and then maybe one of the most important scenes in the movie, we move to his apartment. We get his opening monologue. We learn about his
skincare routine.
All his
so
moisturizers.
fabulous.
Not the face.
I found it interesting how like much attention he paid to his face, and like how he was talking about like how there's someone underneath him, like how he's wearing like a mask.
There's an
basically.
idea of a Patrick Bateman.
Right, and that was
Yeah,
interesting.
You're also talking about
illusory.
during the movie. You're talking about the narcissistic.
Yes, he was very narcissistic through a lot of it, especially in later moments with other interactions with females. Yes, he was very narcissistic.
Yeah, so we get, this is I think this is like the first scene where it's already sort of implementing the idea of how much of this is, real, how much of is it like in his head. I mean, one of the first things we hear Patrick Bateman said is that there's an idea of a Patrick Bateman,
Right.
but that he is simply not there.
I feel like that's the first indication that he's unhinged.
Mm-hmm.
There's something, yeah. And you see throughout the entire movie, like, I don't think he has multiple, like, personalities inside of him, but you can see, like, different switches that he has, especially during moments, like, where he's, I don't know, invested in, like, music and stuff like that. He's very more outgoing and has a different facial as well, which is very interesting. And the other moments when he's acting like Paul Allen, I know we're getting ahead here, but, like, I don't know, he's got, like, different, I don't know, mannerisms and stuff like that. So I think that's interesting, like, how there's an idea of, there's an idea of Patrick Bateman.
I just want to point out,
Oh.
I guessed the correct amount of money on the dot. It was $570. I would just like
Yeah,
to
it
point
was
that out.
Very
was.
impressed.
I thought you like actually knew that.
No, I'm impressed with myself for remembering that.
No, I knew that sounded about right.
Yeah. So I guess before we went to Patrick Bateman's apartment, we had the scene in the nightclub, a very quick scene,
Mm-hmm.
where he says some very, very not nice things to the
Bartender.
bartender. Things we can't repeat on this podcast because we like to stay
Clean.
PG-14. But yeah. And, he says those things when her back is turned. She comes back and just hands him the drinks. Almost doesn't
Doesn't acknowledge
register.
it.
Right. Yeah.
Which, I mean, I don't know if she didn't hear it or if she did and it was kind of just like, oh, he's drunk.
Yeah, he was shouting it. So, like,
I feel like it was more of a, oh, he's drunk.
I think this is like I really like the directing in this movie. I mean, there's a lot of nuance to it, especially in this scene. You have when he says the line, it cuts straight from a shot that's very pulled out and very, you see the whole scene. But when he says the line, it's very focused on Bateman, and you can't see anything around him, so you don't know where the person's standing. You don't really know if she hears it.
It's true. I feel like there's a lot of scenes like that, though, too. There's a lot of scenes that are up for interpretation as to what happens, actually.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think when he says it, the camera pans out and, like, looks in a mirror. Something like that. I don't know. It's got kind of like a
it
mirror
looks at the
effect.
bar mirror.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
And then after the scene in the home, he goes into work. We get the walking on sunshine
Yeah.
headphone scene. Classic scene. Very memed scene.
Mm-hmm.
Something that just occurred to me, going back to your directing point, there's a lot of camera angles that are reflected off of mirrors, actually.
Uh-huh.
I didn't notice until we started talking about mirrors.
Well, especially when he's in the shower, too.
The shower, the
When he's putting on the mask.
Mm-hmm.
the bedrooms.
Yeah. So I think
The bar scene.
it's all to like emphasize his ego,
Mm-hmm.
and that it's kind of like even when the camera's not technically focused on Bateman, it's still on Bateman in the mirror.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, in the bedroom scenes, we'll call them. You
Yeah.
don't see a lot of. You see more of him in a mirror than you do of.
The females.
I mean, that might not be true. I don't know the time breakdown. I didn't really sit there and count on my fingers.
No, I feel like
but
you're pretty much about right.
I feel like it's at least 50% of the time it's him in a mirror.
Mm-hmm.
I think that sort of adds to his Yeah, like narcissistic edge, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When he's like flexing and.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was weird.
That was when you were like, he's so narcissistic.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I love the movie. It's so great. He can't even he's not even giving proper attention. He cares so much more about what he looks like doing it than actually doing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was trying to... I don't think there's a more PG way for me to say that,
No.
to be honest.
No.
So, in The Office, I don't know if the first Office scene has that much, but we get introduced to Jean, and again, he's not very nice to her.
Yeah, he comments about her clothing, like tells her not to wear something again.
Yeah, don't wear that outfit again.
Which I find weird because, like,
Wear a dress
towards
or a
the
skirt.
end, she
You're
wears...
prettier than that.
Yeah, she only wears the skirt once.
Well, we see she wears the skirt the next time we're in the office.
And then after that, she goes back to the same clothing.
Does she?
Mm-hmm, because I noticed it. I was like, that's weird that she went back to the same clothing.
Yeah. And then I guess the next scene, we are introduced to Evelyn, Reese Witherspoon's character, and they're in the taxi cab and they're driving down and he's listening to the new Robert Palmer album, I think.
Yeah.
I'm trying to listen to this new Robert Palmer album. but I can't get the... she's trying to talk about a wedding and he's very not into that. He's trying to, listen to the new Robert Palmer album.
Would you not be upset if somebody's trying to talk to you about a wedding and you were like, dude, I'm listening to my music?
Yeah, if my fiance was talking to me about a
It's
wedding
terrible.
and I'm trying to listen to Robert Palmer, yeah.
Hmm.
Then they get to the restaurant and they're walking in and he goes, I'm on the verge of tears because I'm worried we won't get a good seat. And they walk to the back and they sit down with Bryce, who's having an affair with Evelyn, but he's having an affair with Lewis's wife.
It's like, little does she know.
I'm almost completely indifferent to the fact that she could know I'm having an affair with, what's her name?
What was her name?
Was it
Courtney?
No.
How do I know
Was it
Lou's
Courtney
name?
or was it like
think it was
Celia or
Courtney.
something like that?
No, Celia.
Celia.
We didn't meet Celia, right? That was
Was it-
like...
That
No, it
was
like Celia or Sierra or something like that.
No, Celia was
That was the dude that looks like Patrick Bateman.
Yeah, his
That
wife.
was- Yeah.
What is his name?
Marcus.
Halberstram.
No, it
Halberstram.
Too many names for me.
It was
just saying.
Halberstram.
was like Marcus.
It was definitely Halberstram. I don't know what his first name was.
Marcus Halberstram.
That sounds right.
So everybody really remember your names. Natie and Herbie.
Tommy Boy reference. In 2021? And then I think one of my favorite scenes is when they're talking about the restaurant and they're talking about I don't know, what are they talking about? What country?
Oh,
Sri Lanka.
Yeah, Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka.
And Bateman just spews absolute crap out of his mouth, and they all eat it up, and he's like, "Before you can deal with this, you have to deal with the hunger."
The world hunger.
It's absolute. It's absolute garbage, right? But that's kind of who Bateman's character is. He'll say whatever he wants. He'll do whatever he wants as long as he can maintain this like.
I don't want to say it was absolute garbage. It was a very it was an absolute blanket statement. It was just talking about every single political issue.
I guess it's garbage. I say it's garbage because Bateman doesn't care about any of that.
No.
He doesn't care what's happening in Sri Lanka. He only corrects him saying it's Sri Lanka instead of Sri Lanka because it makes him look more educated. I don't think he could care. I mean, even at the end of the movie, they ask him a very similar question, and he just goes, "Whatever." He doesn't care anymore. I guess he never cared, but he doesn't care about the
Keeping up the facade.
right. So I guess they sort of like hint at the future of the movie when he's walking home and he's taking money out of the ATM and he follows the girl and she's kind of like, I don't know about this.
Yeah.
Is that the one where he goes, hello? And then they cross the stop walk?
And then the next scene we see is him in a laundry mat with an old Chinese woman. He's asking her to clean his sheets.
Oh my god.
That makes sense, man.
Yikes.
Yeah. Did we ever? What was the chick that walked in during then? That he like made her like talk about the sheet with the laundromat people.
That was
Did we ever meet her again?
Victoria?
yeah.
Something like that. So was that like the name that he used when like trying to figure out like trying to say that he went on a date?
Oh yeah.
Because we never
It
saw
was, yeah. We never saw the date though.
Right.
Yeah. What is that on the sheet? It's cranberry juice.
Crane apple.
Apple. Then he has they use this line a lot in the movie where he goes, I have a lunch date in 15 minutes in blank place, and then the person responds with, isn't that way uptown?
Yeah.
And he's like, no, they have one near here.
Mm-hmm.
Does that stand for anything?
I mean everything in the movie is a mockery of everything. So it's it's either an excuse or it's just a mockery of how things are moving all the time and nobody can keep up unless you're going to that restaurant every day. Cranberry juice.
I have some videotapes to return.
Return some videotapes. So then we see him doing crunches in his apartment with a adult movie going on in the background.
Oh my god.
And I think the point of the scene, I think, is just to sort of emphasize how casually he views that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
He's calling a restaurant and making reservations while on the phone listening to that, and he's doing crunches listening to that. And later in the film, he's watching Texas Chainsaw Massacre while doing other things. And it's like showing how desensitized he is to everything.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Gross.
Ew. Oh, did you want to talk about the Les Mis poster above his toilet?
Yeah,
you mentioned that.
That was weird. Like, just a random. I mean, he mentioned it only once after that. He was talking about, like, going to see a musical, and he was like, oh, yeah, I went to go see Les Mis, and, like, talked about something in the theater, and that was it. Like, that was a really odd thing. I bet, like, I could go more in depth with it or something like that if I had more time to think about it. But, like, it was a weird thing to have in your bathroom. Just a random Les Mis poster.
You wouldn't have a Les Mis poster in your bathroom?
No.
No.
I don't know what Les Mis is.
I wouldn't either.
It's a musical.
Yeah, well, it's a musical. I don't know. Any musical besides La La Land is always a step down from...
Oh, boy, John.
Ooh. Controversial or just true?
Or just John.
I'd say just true. Anyway, next scene. Go ahead.
I could stretch that a little bit because the main character in Les Mis is like trying to find himself and trying to escape the law and trying to be his true self that he was meant to be and stuff like that. So I guess that kind of relates to Patrick Bateman because he was trying to find his true self. Like, we're trying to find out who he actually is and whether these events are real or not. So I guess it's just like trying to... Oh, and he's also escaping from the law that we see with...
Is he, though?
The private... that we understand at the beginning of the movie, with the private investigator, he's making up these lies about, like, where he was on that night.
Mentally he is.
Yes.
At least.
Yeah. And so I guess Jean Valjean is doing part of that in the musical as well. He's trying to escape the law to go and be himself.
That musical was hard to watch.
What?
The 2012 one with Russell Crowe singing.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Ugh, oof, that was tough.
Jeez, John.
That was tough to
I
sit
don't watch
through.
musicals.
Russell Crowe cannot swing.
No.
Cannot sing.
Cannot swing.
You said swine,
I'd love to.
it messed me up.
I'd love to see him swing.
It messed
guys.
my brain.
Yes, he did. He took a lesson.
Yeah, and they clearly didn't pay off.
Oh my.
Look, they made Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling sing, and they won an Oscar for Best Song.
Mm-hmm.
So there should not be a person in your movie who
So
doesn't
American
know how to sing.
Psycho. I don't know. You guys are going off on a tangent.
You can't interrupt. You can't interrupt the
Americans.
tangent without having anything to say. Come on.
What's the next scene?
Well, they're in the taxi cab. Him and Courtney, Lewis's fiance.
Oh, Lewis's chick.
Is that Donald Trump's car?
Oh, yeah.
And they're going to Dorcia's.
Dorcia's.
Except they're not
Dorce.
going to Dorcia's. They're going to,
Because she's so, like, tired.
it's like Barcadia or something.
No, she's drugged out.
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah.
Well, yes. Like,
She did the drugs.
and so she's tired.
Yeah.
She, like, slumps down at the restaurant.
You should do some more lithium.
yeah.
Isn't that, like, the first 2 references that he makes to Donald Trump?
Yeah, he
Donald
makes one to
Trump
Donald Trump, and then he makes one to Ivanka Trump when him and Paul Allen are at the
Yeah.
Mexican food
So,
place.
I guess that kind of, like, relates to him obsessed with, like, the money portion of it as well.
Yeah, he also just uses it kind of like
Yeah.
she's like, where are we going? And he's like, look, is that Donald Trump's car coming from Dorcia's? And then when they're at the Mexican food place, and Paul Allen's like, Haberstram, what are we doing here? It's a dump. He's like, is that Ivanka Trump? Anyway, I think I'm going to get it's kind of like, shows how, like, sheepish all the yuppies are in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the next scene, they're at the conference table, and we get the famous business card scene.
Let's see Paul Allen's card.
First, that's a nice card you got there. That's Cillian Rail. It's a nice color you got there. Bone. Neither of which are colors for business cards, by the way. I did a little research. Yeah. Bone. Also, bone is not white. It would be like yellow because bone is.
Interesting. Do you think they did that on purpose?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you guys were catching, but I was pausing it when they're showing the business card.
Yeah.
They spelled acquisitions wrong, I think. Wait, how do you before I say this? They spelled acquisitions wrong. They forgot the C on the card. I needed to check that before I said it, and I was wrong, but I was right. And Cillian Rail is not a font, also. So it's just, it's more of a mockery.
Trying to just
Again.
show up.
Using fancy words.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then obviously we see Van Patten's card and we see Bryce's card. I can't believe Bryce prefers Van Patten's card to mine.
I think the funniest part is they're like arguing over business cards,
Very
and I'm like,
nice.
they all look the same.
And
Well, that's the point. Yeah.
And they're like, whoosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is the most stressful you see Patrick until he thinks he's going to get caught.
Yeah.
When he's sweating over the business cards.
Yeah, that, and then when he sees Lewis's business card, he loses his mind.
Yeah. Nice. Very nice. Let's see Paul Allen's card. Look at that subtle off-white coloring. The tasteful thickness of it. Oh my god. It even has a watermark. And then, obviously he's sweating over the business card.
It's got a watermark.
And then on his way back from home, he meets, what was his name? The homeless guy? Albert? Al?
Al, it was Al.
Al. Hello, I'm Pat Bateman. Would you like some money, some food? And he's like, how'd you lose your job? Insider trading? He's like amusing himself over this, him like torturing this man.
Mm-hmm. Which is kind of sad to watch.
Yeah. And then of course he stabs him.
That was very all of a sudden. I was like, oh my god. This is happening now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Tells him what a loser he is. Then he stomps on the poor puppy. Well, poor dog. I don't know if it was a puppy or not.
Whatever.
But, whatever.
Poor-
Yeah, whatever
poor
to
doggy.
him stomping on the dog.
No, I meant whatever. It is a dog.
Mm-hmm. I think I mentally blocked that from my mind. Poor puppy.
You don't see it. You just hear it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think this scene happens after that, but he's getting his face massaged, and she's like, "You have such nice skin, Mr. Bateman."
It is.
And he's like, "I can't control it. My nightly bloodlust is overflowed into my days."
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they're at the Christmas party. You know, Patrick Bateman, he gets his little reindeer. He gets reindeer ears on him.
He does.
And we see Paul Allen come up to him, you know. And he's like, Halberstram, how's it going?
Oh yeah, and completely like butchers his name and like completely mistakes it for someone else.
Yeah, and then we get to the restaurant. I don't know, what is the restaurant called? Something stupid.
Oh, Evelyn has a pig. I don't know if that was important.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was cute.
Ew, no, gross.
She just had a little piggy.
I think it's like
Gross.
Potbelly pig.
I think it's like a representation of how Patrick Bateman feels like he would become if he was married to Evelyn. Like he's just this show thing to her. I don't know. It could mean nothing, but
it was cute. It was dressed up.
Yeah, and then we go to the restaurant. It's called like Tex Arcadia or something. Tex Arcana. Something. And Paul Allen is not digging it, but he's digging the martinis. And we get another scene where he's like, Patrick Bateman just goes, I like to dissect girls. Do you know that I'm utterly insane? And Paul Allen has no reaction.
Yeah.
But he might be absolutely buzzed out of his mind. Then of course,
I think he is at that point.
Yeah, he definitely is when they get back.
Yeah.
Probably the most famous scene in the movie. You like Huey Lewis in the News?
Is that a raincoat?
Yes, it is.
You like Huey Lewis in the News, Paul?
It was such a shiny axe too. It was like very, like you could see yourself in it. It was like that shiny.
Yeah. You guys like Huey Lewis in the News? You like that song? Yeah. No.
See, now whenever you're gonna say that, I'm afraid like there's gonna be an axe showing up, or you're gonna put on a raincoat.
John just starts laying newspaper on the ground.
Yeah, well, you got the newspaper for it. You got a
I
dog.
said, why is the style article
got a little
on the floor or
chow.
something like that?
You got a little chow. Is that a raincoat? Yes, it is. In '87, Huey released this for their most accomplished album. I think their undisputed masterpiece. I like how he puts the music on, and when he should have hit him in the head with the axe, when the beat does the thing, where you'd expect it, he doesn't, because he's more concerned with almost showing his expertise on the band that he just wants to get through his little
spiel
before he does anything. You see this again later with
bedroom scenes.
Yeah, before the bedroom scenes, he's talking about, I think, Phil Collins that time.
Yeah.
And they're like, clearly one of them is out of it, and he's like, no, I gotta get through this first. Come on. Let me show my expertise. Yeah, I love the shiny axe. I think it's it's more of that sort of
make your reservations at Dorsia now.
Try getting your reservation at Dorsia's now, you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Censored for YouTube purposes.
Absolutely.
Love the raincoat. Great touch. We have a little raincoat Patrick Bateman with us today. Pop Funko.
Just chilling.
He's chilling there. He's
vibing.
He's sitting there.
He's
just sitting there.
If you want to see him, we'll post him on Instagram.
Yeah, we'll post him on Instagram.
He's so cute. And there's blood on the side of the box. Not actual blood. But like...
Well,
fake
we don't know that.
I guess technically we do. I just bought it from Amazon, so it could have...
It could, yeah.
I don't know.
Really fits the box.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the shiny axe. It's more that, like, that commentary where he'd rather have the axe be super shiny than actually be sharp.
Yeah.
You'd rather have to bludgeon the person than have the axe be sharp.
Yeah.
Right. Interesting.
Then, he's trying to dispose of the body, but he finds a wild Lewis on the loose. And he has to,
and Lewis says, look at that bag.
Where'd you get that bag from? John Paul Gaultier. And then he goes to Paul Allen's apartment, and he's like, I almost panic when I see Paul's place overlooks the pier.
It's more expensive.
It's more expensive than mine. Then he sends Paul on a trip to London.
Things that he panics about is very interesting. Like panics about like a good seat. Like
I'm on the verge of tears when we walk into the restaurant and I'm worried we won't have a good seat. I'm trying to listen to the new Phil Collins album, but I can't because Evelyn is talking about our wedding. And then we meet Detective Donald Kimball, played by... Anybody know?
I know he's in Spider-Man.
Yeah? Come on.
No.
No. Well, this is disappointing.
Sorry.
When we do the Lighthouse, he's in the Lighthouse. We're gonna do the Lighthouse.
Still don't know who he is.
No.
Gotta tell him the name. Tell us the
So
name.
you're gonna tell us who it is?
I'll tell you, yeah. You really don't? Alright, Willem Dafoe.
Never would have got
Willem Dafoe. Dang you, Winslow. Let Neptune strike you dead.
Oh boy.
Arg. That's the Lighthouse.
Say you like my lobster.
Say it. Come on. I know you like it. I want to do that movie. That's a good movie. That's another good movie.
We can do that movie.
Yes. You don't know what you just signed up for.
No, probably not.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
You did make me watch Nocturnal Animals though, so.
Yeah, and you like
And
that.
Enemy.
And
Honestly, Enemy was worse than Nocturnal Animals, I think.
Ooh.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's probably true. All right. Where are we at in the plot here?
We just found
met
Detective.
the detective,
Oh,
the
yeah, the
private
detective.
investigator.
Yeah. Detective.
Not private investigator, detective.
He was hired.
He's introduced as Detective Donald Kimball.
Yes, he has a name, detective.
Yeah. So we get the first of many scenes of him trying to lock down his location.
Yeah.
And Bateman struggles to find the location.
Right. And at the end of this, doesn't he oh, he brings out Huey Lewis in the news, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's like,
So
you
you're
like
saying-
Huey Lewis in
like
the
in the
news?
news.
Yeah, I said it at the end.
And Bateman's like,
No, not into artists.
no, he says, no, that's not what he says.
He says, never heard of it.
No, he says, you heard the new Huey Lewis in the News album? He's like, no, it's a little too, you can look it up, but it's a little too something sounding for Patrick Bateman, because he's, a terrible person.
Mm-hmm.
If it has not been established before this point.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get the first scene with, I don't know what her name is, the blonde street worker.
That was Cecile? No, it's not Cecile, it's Christine. Or
I'm
Christy.
gonna refer to
Oh, yeah,
you
Christy.
as...
Christy.
I'm going to
Christy.
refer to you
It's
as
Christy and
Christy.
Sabrina. Sabrina?
Yeah.
Or Sabrina?
Is that the first one? Sabrina?
Yeah, it's Christy and Sabrina, and then it's Christy and Elizabeth.
Or is it Daisy? Who's Daisy?
No,
No,
it's
it's not
Daisy.
Daisy.
There's no Daisy.
There is a Daisy. I'm looking at the cast.
What?
There's no picture for Daisy, though.
Mm.
Yeah,
So maybe she's
I think it was
just vibing.
Sabrina. Okay.
It's definitely Sabrina.
Yeah, and then, the scene happens. We can't discuss much of it because PG-14.
Ew.
But they leave, and they have scratches, bloody nose.
Mm-hmm.
When we meet back up with
Christy.
Chris.
See, I don't know what they're trying to imply happened there.
Well, he went over to his dresser and pulled out
And pulled out a coat hanger.
He didn't go all the way with it. That was the point. He stopped himself or something stopped him.
Oh, I see.
But she
Because his
didn't-
nightly bloodlust was only flowing into his day, and he couldn't. When he started, he's murdering the homeless, which for him he calls them the filth.
Makes sense.
So he's like, yeah.
But something happened because we didn't see her face at all. We only saw Sabrina's back.
We know she went into surgery
That's
and
what I was
almost
about
died.
to say. She
But
went.
they
in-
both had nosebleeds.
We didn't see. Her
At least
face.
one of them had blood
Yeah.
nosebleeds.
Sabrina had a nosebleed and scratches on her back. We didn't see any of Christy. I don't know. But we know that she went into the emergency room and she had to have surgery to fix something, and we don't know what
Yeah.
that was.
Yeah, and then if they didn't put this down sharply enough before Bateman and Van Patten and McDermott are sitting in a bar and they're talking about women. And Bateman goes, he's like, say theoretically they do have a good personality and they are not great looking. And then, the fellas are all women don't have personality or something. What do they say? There are no girls with good personalities.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So if they didn't hammer that down hard enough, there it is again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Bateman, he brings up a serial killer from the 50s. He's do you remember who it was?
You talking about with Gene?
When they're in the bar. And he's like, do you know what the serial killer said about
women? I don't know.
I see them on the street and I either want to take them to a nice dinner and whatever.
Yeah.
Or I want to stick their head on a spike or something like that. And he's cracking up and everyone's like, okay, baby.
Okay, buddy.
But they're not like, it's weird because they're not really like...
They're not disgusted by it.
Right, like if my friend did that, I'd be like, I'm going to get you help and I don't want to see you for 2 weeks. But they're just kind of like, okay, Bateman. And maybe that's more of like, maybe that's like a time thing. Maybe that's like, I wasn't around in the 80s. I don't know what, a typical conversation between Wall Street yuppies was in the 80s. But, yeah, and then we get the scene with Lewis in the bathroom where he puts on the leather gloves.
Oh, that was...
Goes up behind him.
That was wrong.
Lewis turns around 180s on him. Bateman, God, Patrick, why here? Been waiting so long for this. And Bateman's like...
I know the way you looked at me.
Bateman's like, hold on.
Wait a second. This isn't what's supposed to happen here.
Wait a minute.
And he freaks out. And Lewis does the I'll call you gesture.
Washes his gloves off.
Yeah, he washes the gloves off. Great scene. Washing the gloves off. We get another scene, but I think we already discussed that with Kimball. I think that was the Lewis scene. We discussed that. He says it's a little too, whatever. And then we get Patrick and Courtney, who's Lewis's fiance. And they do the deed, and Courtney says, if I don't see you again,
if I don't see you by Easter, and then doesn't finish her sentence.
Yeah, because Bateman's...
And then she keeps calling for him, and then she doesn't say anything. We can tell she wants to say something about what's happening and stuff like that, but he doesn't show any interest in trying to figure out what she's saying.
Then Gene is brought into Patrick's house.
Mm-hmm. That's where he also talks about Ted Bundy.
Yeah.
And he almost shoots her in the head with a nail gun.
But his phone rings.
Evelyn saved her-ish by the phone call.
Yeah.
And then he doesn't want to kill her after.
Yeah, and he's leave before...
He brings up he can't control himself.
Right.
And then Bateman and Kimball again, they're at the restaurant this time, putting excessive amounts of salt on their meal.
Right. And apparently Bateman was at the meeting that...
With Halberstram and McDermott, Van Patten, all of them.
Right.
So he's clean. He was clean the whole time.
On the night that Paul Allen died, he was at a meeting, or at something, at a function.
Then, of course, it leads into the famous chainsaw scene. He picks up Christy again on the side, and he picks up his friend, or...
Elizabeth.
His old...
Homie.
College, something, high school, something, one of those two.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. And so then, again, stuff, and then Christy realizes that...
I need to get out of here.
He's kind of a cannibal-ish.
Well, he's definitely a cannibal, we learned that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, gross. So she takes a run for it. Takes a break for it? Is that what... I don't know. Anyway... He's got a chainsaw, which is a little odd. It's a little odd that no one comes out of their rooms either.
As he's running down the hallway with a chainsaw,
he's running down the
full blast.
Butt naked with...
Yeah.
No, not butt naked.
Sorry,
he has tennis shoes on.
Oh, yeah, that's true. He
gross.
kept the tennis shoes on.
With a chainsaw and all bloody, and then he happens to, get her with the chainsaw while she's running down the stairs.
Yeah, drops the chainsaw on her.
That's...
Swish. Kobe.
So anyway, then she also finds a bunch of bodies in Paul Allen's apartment that are just hanging and chilling, all dead, of course, but
Yeah.
Hence dead bodies.
a lot of them. So then after that,
they go to the restaurant with him and Evelyn.
And he's drawing the dead body on the.
And he's like, "We need to break up," and she's like, "Haha, very funny." And he's like, "No, I'm serious.
You don't understand.
It's over. This is no joke." And then she's like, "But your friends are my friends." And he's like, "You know what? I've given a lot of thought into this. You can have them." Then she has a breakdown, and he's like, "Why are you doing this? Stop doing this. If you want to do one thing for me, stop making this scene." She's like, "Where are you going?" And he's like, "I've got to return some tapes. I've got to return some tapes."
So yeah, then after that, doesn't he go on a... Oh, no, yeah, he leaves the restaurant, then goes to the ATM, which is reference to a similar scene earlier where he was trying to get money from the ATM.
The cat.
Then he finds a cat, and the ATM says, "Feed me the cat," or something like that.
And he's going to do it until the old lady stops him.
Yeah, and then he shoots the old lady, and then...
Runs away, shoots the cops, runs away from them, shoots the guy at the front desk, runs back to a different front desk, or the same front desk.
and then blows up the police cars.
Well, yeah, that was shooting the cops.
Or that... Okay.
No, he goes to one front desk, shoots that guy, goes to another front desk, signs in, walks around the corner, and then comes back and shoots the guy.
And then goes to the elevator and then goes and hides in his office.
And he calls his lawyer. He's like, "I've killed 20, maybe 40 people. I've eaten their brains.
I tried to cook him."
That was awful.
And you hear a helicopter.
I love how worried he is about that he tried to cook them. Like, that was the most worrying part of that sentence, was he tried to cook it before he eat it.
Yeah. Odd.
I like the very, very stark difference between 20 and 40 people.
Yeah.
I think that just adds to how much of this is innocent and how much of it is not real.
Because there's a big difference between 20 and 40 people.
Yeah, that's 20 people.
Mm-hmm.
So that segues into the bar scene where...
At the very end.
Well, first he goes back to Paul Allen's apartment and he doesn't see the bodies there, and the lady's like, "Don't bring this up again, get out."
Yeah, I forgot about that.
It's completely painted white.
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes to the bar and finds his...
Harry's bar.
Harry's bar. With his homies. And then he sees the lawyer there.
You just called them his homies?
Yes, or something.
They are his homies.
Then sees the lawyer and is like, "So did you get my message?" And he's like, "Haha, it's so funny. Patrick Bateman is such a weirdo." Thinking that it was
Davis.
Yeah. He knew someone else that was calling. And then he takes a moment and he's like, "I'm not joking." And then he's like, "Haha, you're funny." And he's like, "I'm not joking. I am Patrick Bateman." And the lawyer's like, "That's weird."
Stop it, you're freaking me out. And he
Yeah.
still doesn't even believe him.
No.
And then he sits down. They're trying to fit him a reservation still. And they ask him about, what he feels about this certain political issue. And he goes, Whatever. Yeah, he does a monologue. And I think he ends it with, "My confession has meant nothing."
Right.
Yeah, that's the movie.
Yeah.
That's the movie. Yeah, you heard our ratings at the beginning, but overall, I thought the movie was very interesting, but it wasn't... I don't know, there were some parts where I was just... It took it a little too far sometimes. But I did enjoy the movie. It was interesting.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with my 10 out of 10. I love the line. It's always going on this line of how much of it is too unrealistic to be real, how much it is real. And it's blurring that line, and by the end of the movie, the line is so blurred that you can't even see the line anymore. It's all just one blurry mess of a picture. Kyler?
I do like the idea behind the movie. What? I'm not changing my rating, no.
Okay.
I do like the idea behind the movie. It's not a movie for me. It's too much just blood and gore and the dude's psycho, obviously.
Well, really?
Hence American Psycho.
Sure? Are we sure? I don't know about that one. That one's
I feel like it's more questionable if he's American.
Then if you
Come on, that was funny.
Wow.
Come on, that was funny. Yeah, just not a movie for me.
Okay, 6 out of 10.
Yeah.
So what's that average? 6.5, 6, 10.
You're the math guy.
12, 22, 22.5 divided by 3, 3, 4, 8, 7.5. I made an...
Right.
Oh my god, come on.
Nice job.
Oh, nice.
Human
Let's,
calculator, baby.
Next time I say something really stupid, let's just remember this moment.
And the 750.
Did you manage to calculate an average in your head?
Yeah.
Yeah. With
Well-
a decimal point in one of the numbers.
Oh. Boy.
Ooh.
Okay, so anyway, thank you for listening to our Hypercast of American Psycho.
Yeah.
John, would you like to say the famous line?
I'll say it. First, subscribe if you liked it. Give us a follow. All of our socials are on the screen right now. Instagram, Twitter. Let us know what movies you want us to watch, and we won't watch them probably because we have so many movies on our list currently. But this was the second episode of the Hypercast, and I guess let's see Paul Allen's podcast.